Guys, guess what? It's another cookie video, and this time it's a success. So the third time is the charm. So let's get to it, and I'll show you what I did. It's a very easy thing to do. I don't know why I didn't think of it before, but I'll tell you the secret to making cookies in your solar oven. All right, so this is really straightforward. I'm just using a premix. It called for a stick of butter, which this is just part of a stick, so I just added a little bit of canola oil to make up the difference. An egg, and it called for a tablespoon of water, which I skipped because you don't need to add water in a solar oven. And then I wanted to add butterscotch chips. So I mixed all the ingredients together, and this is what it looked like without the water. So it was a little thicker, which is fine because you don't want to add water when you're cooking in a solar oven because it retains water instead of drying out. Then I remembered that the whole reason I wanted to make cookies is because I had these two really overripe bananas that I wanted to get rid of. So I added these in after I mixed everything up, and it ended up being really mushy. So I added in some oatmeal and mixed that up with my hands, and it was still mushy, so I added some flour. And then finally it was the right consistency. I don't know the measurements, I just eyeballed it, so whatever. Anyways, I got my pizza pan out and I sprayed it lightly with just, I don't know, spray oil. And then I divided the cookies out onto my pizza pan, right onto the pan. This is the step, and this is the trick that makes the cookies work, is putting this lid on. And I don't know why I didn't think of this before, because this is how I made the pizza and the salmon cakes and all that stuff. I was like, oh, duh, put a glass lid on it. Anyways, so I put the lid on and I stuck it in my solar oven. You can see my video, just prior to this video. If my solar oven looks a little funky, it's because it's on the fall-winter setting now. It doesn't look like a bowl anymore. It looks like this mushroom shape. And there's a reason for that, so watch my video prior to this to find out why. I left them in the oven for an hour. Oh, before I tell you that, this is what the weather looked like. So in the low 70s, which you know that the ambient temperature has no bearing on whether or not your solar oven will work. And it has everything to do with these lovely little clear suns and the fact that there is no precipitation slated for today. That's what's going to determine whether or not you're going to have a good baking day or a bad baking day. And if you watch prior videos, you know you can have a little bit of clouds, but not, it can't be overcast. You need to be able to see a definite shadow on the ground. If you can see a shadow on the ground, you can bake. But clearer sun is better. Things will bake more quickly in a clear, bright sun. All right, so this is my last video. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is after an hour. You can see that the cookies more toward the back are darker than the ones here in the front. All right, so just a little note about this. This is a really good experiment to run to see where the heat is concentrated in your oven. So clearly, this is like, I'm going to zoom right in. This is the sweet spot of my oven right there. And the cast iron, the one nice thing about cast iron is the fact that it really actually distributes that heat fairly well. But you can see that even though the cast iron is doing its job, it still is limited insofar as the concentration point. So just a few things to note about that is I probably should have kept a better eye on these cookies, and at 30 minutes I should have flipped the pan, but I was just busy with other things and came back in an hour, and this is what I found. So, that's just something. If you want your cookies baked evenly, come after 30 minutes and flip them around, and then they'll be cooked more evenly. But anyways, one other thing to notice is that you want to leave at least a tiny little gap between the back of the oven and whatever pot or pan you're using. And that's because if I had pushed this pan all the way up to the back, I don't think that it would have baked as well because the light needs to reflect down into the bottom. Okay, so you want to leave a little bit of a gap. That's just a side note. All right, so I ended up flipping the pan and I went back inside for like 10 to 15 minutes and I came back and I was like, you know what? These cookies are all done. It's just that some of them are a little overdone. So I went ahead and just got them all out and I went in. Oh, part of what I went in after I flipped this, I went in and I put the rest of the dough into a baggie. Normally when I make a bunch of cookie dough, when I'm cooking on my oven on the inside of my house, I just go ahead and make all the cookies. And then what happens is the cookies sit in the refrigerator for like I'm not kidding, like months and months because there's so many cookies we can't possibly eat them all, so we don't eat them at all. So I think this is going to be a better method for us is to just have like 10 to 12 of them available and then see how we work through those. And then I just stuck the rest of the dough in a bag and divided it with my hands. And that way, the next time I want to make cookies, I can just grab out one of these sections and let it thaw and then make cookies. But I stuck this bag in the freezer to save it. So, all right, that's just a little thought. All right, so I wanted to show you the difference. These are my two extreme cookies here. This one looks, in this video, it looks like it's burnt. It's actually not burnt. It's just very, very, very dark brown. And what's funny is when you touch it, it's not hard and dry because remember a solar oven is a moist heat. It's a wet heat. It's not a dry heat. So even though it's very dark, it's not actually burnt. And then this cookie here looks like maybe it's underdone, but it's actually baked through as well. It's just maybe the difference here is that this one's a little bit chewier than this one, or like not chewier as in like caramel chewier, but like easier to chew maybe this cookie. And so, you know, if you've got a house full of children and some of them like crunchier cookies, some of them like underdone cookies, then this is a good little this is a good method for you. But anyways, that's the one drawback. Solar oven cooking is not without its flaws insofar as, you know, it's not going to cook everything perfectly necessarily, like the way a conventional oven or convection oven would on the inside of your house. It cooks everything evenly. So, you know, it's a small price to pay because the cookies are done. And if there's a power outage or if you're wanting to save money on electricity or gas or whatever, it's a free option. Okay. This is free energy, free baking. So, you know, it's not going to be quite as perfect as the kind that you pay for, but you know, if you are in an outage or off the grid, you can still bake your food. So there you go. I just wanted to show you what the cookies look like. See, that one's done. It looked like it wasn't, but it is. So they're all done and they're good. I also wanted to show you one other thing, because if you were to leave cookies in a regular oven for too much time, then all the cookies would actually be burnt and you'd have a second problem because it would all be stuck to the pan. But you see that these all just came right off in a solar oven. They just came right off. All I had to do was brush the crumbs off and then re-oil it, and it was fine. So, you know, in a regular oven, if you overdo your cookies, it's going to be stuck on here. It's going to take forever. You're going to have to like re-scour the entire thing and then re-season the whole thing, which is going to use more energy to stick it back in the oven to re-season it, and you know, all that. So solar oven cooking does save you from that headache. So that's a good thing. Anyways, I'm very happy that I finally figured out how to make cookies in my solar oven. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.